Hey y'all, out here at Griffey's Hot Rod Shop, and got an interesting story and an interesting car I'm getting ready to bring to you. It's a 55 Chevy Wagon, and I know people in my neighbors will remember, and obviously people in Nashville won't forget, but I guess it was a year or so, there was a big flood in Nashville. A lot of stuff got flooded. And of course we know about the late model cars and everything that was ruined there, but I don't think a lot of people thought there was whole hot rod collections that got flooded, and there was. And Griffey's got one, and now he's got a 55 Chevy Wagon that was actually in the flood in Nashville, and he's working to bring it back to the level that it was before. So anyways, let's run in and get with Larry and find out how bad this car was and what he's going to do to get it back in shape. Larry, how are you, brother?
I'm doing fine, Scotty. How you doing?
Oh, you know, I'm always outstanding when I'm here. It's one of my favorite places to be.
There you go.
If I had all the money in the world, there's no place I'd rather be than right here. Tell me now, I was telling folks that this, you know, you think of a lot of the late model stuff and the property damage that happened in Nashville with that big flood.
Yes.
But you don't think about whole street rod collections getting wiped out. And unfortunately, that's what happened to this one.
Yes. This particular vehicle was in at Advanced Plating. Belongs to Steve and Sherry Tracy in Nashville, Tennessee, that owns Advanced Plating, which is a chrome plating company. For you hot rod guys, most everybody listening to this thing will be familiar with them. They do plating for people all over the world, certainly all over the United States and internationally as well.
And let's stop there, because we might as well give him a shout out while we're talking about it. He chrome plates all of Gibson guitars chrome.
Absolutely.
How cool
Every
is that?
Gibson guitar and so forth that you see, everything that's plated on that guitar is plated by
Advanced Plating.
Nashville. And they do also various other plating for truck manufacturers. They do production plating. They have a separate facility that preps all of that, and they do plating and stainless buffing and various things for large trucks like Kenworth. I believe they do theirs, and I don't quote incorrectly, but lots of that they do, as well as the custom and antique and classic car restoration market that they provide plating services for. And you know, they've done the Oakland Roadster show cars, they've done Riddler Winners, and you know.
Right. Locally, it's known that if you're looking for the best plating you can get, Advanced is probably where you need to send your stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's no insult to the other places.
If you want perfection,
right?
Then and it's like anything else, perfection
costs money.
Comes with a price, of course.
Right.
But they're fair, and they do excellent work. If you want it the best you can be done, then you send it down to Steve at Advanced.
Cool.
So with that said,
right.
This was in the building. He had about 10 cars in there, and there were several of them that got water damage. This one got some water damage. The water got up into the body and along, and got up in the transmission and various things, and got into the motor. It's been up here. We have disassembled, took all the trim and the chrome off of it, completely pulled the motor out of it, transmission out of it. Completely went through everything. Transmission completely rebuilt, torque converter.
How bad was that motor when you got inside?
Not bad. Actually, the motor, that was never started or anything done to it. So we drained everything out, pulled intake, cleaned everything. We've had the motor running on it. Motor runs excellent in it. Transmission, because the clutches have paper type clutches in it, and we were concerned about the transmission down the road giving a problem.
Right.
So we went ahead and pulled the transmission, which we had out of it with the motor, and sent it over to the transmission shop here. We use Atkins Transmissions, and had them to go through the transmission, put all new clutches, clean everything, disassemble every bolt nut, go through it, and completely rebuild the transmission, put a new torque converter in it. We've also done that with the rear end. We've had the rear axle out of it, pulled a stump out of it, pulled all the gears, cleaned everything, changed fluid, put new axle bearings in it. We have changed all the brakes off of it. Originally it had just disc brakes and drums on the back. We changed it and put the Bear brakes, all new brake lines throughout, new master cylinder, new power steering lines, new power steering pump. We put the vintage air front runner system on this.
It didn't have it before?
It didn't have that. It had a regular V-belt pulley system on it with a regular 55 Chevrolet radiator here.
Right.
When we went to this vintage air system on it, front runner system, that sets out here further, so that required us to go to a radiator in the front. We used a cross flow instead of the usual vertical flow radiator that was in a 55 Chevrolet. Even though this one had aluminum, we went to a cross flow aluminum on this one.
Right.
And polished it, of course, and decided to, you know, since we were doing all the engine, we painted all the engine. We've had the headers recoated. Of course, Steve did his magic on all the valve covers and intake and front runner system. Every bit of it's been plated, of course, with the advanced plating chrome, as well as the master cylinder polished and plated. Stainless brake lines on that part up here, and stainless radiator or stainless power steering hoses and everything on here with all the connectors done. All new hoses, all new air conditioning. Took the entire inside air conditioning unit out of it just in case it had any water gotten in it, pulled it out, put a complete new vintage air system in it. We've completely disassembled everything inside of it, all the interior out of it. We have completely cleaned all the floors inside the doors. If you look over here and shoot through here, you'll see there's Dynamat.
I saw that.
Inside the doors.
I was talking to Brandon about that, man. How many boxes of Dynamat did you use on
Actually,
this
went
thing?
through 4 boxes of Dynamat on this little project.
Yay, man.
Yeah, there's 4 full complete boxes, large boxes of Dynamat in this car.
Holy cow.
But this is actually his wife's car, Sherry, and his daughters are going to drive it. They don't intend on selling the car. You know, they're going to keep it. He's had it about 10 years, and he bought it already painted like this. And so we are freshening up. We spotted in some places on it. We have all the chrome off of it, which he's plated all the stainless trim down the sides of it. You can see all the trims off, knuckers off, headlight rings, pop metal pieces, door handles, transmission bezels for the wipers, vent windows. We went ahead and put power windows in it. It's got brand new Relic power windows in it. We put brand new power window motors in it, runners, tracks, everything. It'll have a complete new leather interior by Pro Auto Interiors. Steve Holcomb's putting a new interior in it. We went ahead and painted the dash out. It's going to have this color leather interior in it. And we went ahead and painted the dash to match the leather interior. We put new gauges in it, new radio in it.
New wiring harnesses?
New wiring.
You took it back
the
down.
clock.
It
We
didn't hurt the
basically-
paint. It didn't hurt the
Didn't
paint.
do anything for the paint. I
Right.
mean, didn't hurt anything on the paint. We're going
Right.
to sand and buff the paint to smooth it up a little more. But
Right.
this is a driver. He didn't want to get into a complete rebuild and complete repaint because it's going to be driven.
Right.
But we're going to sand it, buff it, slick it up a little bit, put all the new chrome and stainless trim and everything back on it. He has the wheels. We are plating all the wheels. He's got them down there plating them.
It's on
Here we
airbags?
put-
This
Pardon
is
me?
on airbags, isn't it?
Yes, it is. This is airbag. It's got the leaves in it to use it to stabilize it. They've taken most of the leaves out of it, but the airbags is what holds the car up.
All right.
Put all new shocks on it. They're coming. They're on the way here.
And did it have bare brakes on the back of it?
No, it did not have any. All of this is new,
All
complete.
this new.
New brake system from one end to the other. New brake lines. New air lines. Now this car, as I say, had airbags on it before.
Right.
And of course, when water got up, the compressors and all that stuff, it bothered that, of course. So we actually did a modification on this right here. This is normally where your spare tire goes in a station wagon.
Right.
Well, the way we do these cars now, with 10s on the back and 7s on the front and bigger tires, and
Right.
what spare do you carry?
Yeah.
You carry kind of fix a flat, and hope,
Right.
call a tow
And
truck,
pray.
put another one on.
Yeah.
Pray it don't have a flat.
Right.
So we utilized this area for the spare tire, and we actually cut it in two and deepened it 4 inches.
Oh, wow.
And then put a band in it all the way around because it wasn't deep enough to get the battery. We took the battery off the firewall, slicked off the firewall, and repainted it. Cleaned all the firewall up and make it neater and cleaner. We put the battery back here in the wheel well. We put the amplifier for the radio back here. We put the air compressor for the air ride back here. We put all the valves and control panel, the valving and controllers for the air for each individual bag back here. We put the put a brand new aluminum tank in it because water had gotten into the
Right.
air tank and corroded it. We also, in this area, we dynamited all this to keep the noise down. And dynamited all this, but and it'll have a lid on it that's dynamited, and then it'll have carpeting and everything back here. We dynamited all the wheel wells, but we put a vent right here, and we put a fan right here.
Oh, man.
So it will pull air through it to get rid of the heat off the amplifier, the heat off the compressor, any fumes it might, even though we used an Optima
Right.
battery that is a gel cell battery, in case it vents anywhere, it'll pull fumes out of here and make sure we don't have any type of explosion situation back here.
Now, what do you put on the other side of that screen to keep water from coming through there?
It has a deflector face on it and it
Okay.
deflects up, so you're only going to get a limited because it's not going to pull water into it. It's got a very small grid, just enough to let air come through it.
Okay.
So it'll be very good.
Should
on that.
work, yeah.
Right. I don't think we'll have a problem there.
Right.
But we're completely redoing the vehicle. We put all the control switches and electronic digital control switches up on the front for all the airbags to move the airbags up and down.
Now, is that going to be like one of them automatic programmable systems?
No, we're going to go to where no, he still wants to be able to run it up individually. So we didn't go
So
to
his
one
wife,
of those.
his wife's going to be out there jacking her car up and down as she drives it down the road?
Yeah, she'll just hop in it, push the two buttons, and raise the front to where she wants it. And to the poundage, it'll read out the poundage, raise it up to where you want
So
it.
it has like digital gauges or
Oh
something
yeah,
that
it's
tells
got
you?
digital gauge up.
So you know where to set it?
Yeah,
Did-
once you determine that, 71 pounds, 71 to 74 pounds in the front's good ride height, and 80 pounds in the rear, or 60 pounds, or whatever it takes to get it set about where you want it,
Right.
then that should pretty much be the same every time. We feel that those work as well as any other way of doing it.
We had covered that before. You said that they're still not there with the automatic system.
Some of it isn't. Some people swear by it, but some people don't. So
Right.
in this particular case, we decided
Some
to
people
leave
swear
it. He
at
had
it.
it digital before. He had analog gauges in it before with instead of digital, and we changed it to the digital gauges so it'd be easier to read and keep up with and everything.
Right.
But we're still using individual controls for each bag to control it.
And you use custom switches or something, not those big old toggle switches?
Right. No,
Yeah.
it's got the ones for the Air Ride Technologies system
I got you.
that matches.
It's an
up with the
automatic?
controllers.
It's an
Yes,
automatic.
it is. It's a 350 with a 350 automatic transmission. It sure is.
Wow. That's a lot. That's sad to see, but it's good to see too,
Well,
and
it's going to make
back.
it's going to as he said, we're putting it back a whole lot better than it ever was before the water got to it, and so
Yeah. So really, it's a blessing in disguise.
it is.
Did he have insurance? I guess that's the question everybody's going to want to know. And how do insurance companies cover something like that?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm under the impression that he did have some insurance coverage on it. Yes,
Right.
I think.
I
Probably
just,
he did.
boy, if
I
you
really
wreck a
don't know on that.
if you wreck a 2-year-old Cadillac, you got to argue with them. I can only imagine if you come in there with a flooded out street rod, the conversation that must go on.
Well, most of these are insured by, most of the street rods and vintage cars and things like that are insured by specialty insurance companies who deal in this.
Right, Chrome or whoever.
Like Chrome or there's several of them, Taylor and Haggerty and various
Haggerty,
different
right,
ones.
right.
Most of those people, when you have a claim with those, in my experience, and I've repaired several cars that have been damaged through different ones, they don't really, they have very little claims paid out, and when they have a claim, they're generally very nice to deal with.
Right.
And,
As a specialty
I don't
company.
think that,
They understand what they're insuring.
that's right,
Yeah.
and most of these cars are not susceptible to a lot of damage.
No.
They don't have a lot of claims, generally speaking, on this type of cars, because most of the time they're in garages,
Right.
and they're a person's baby. So,
Right.
when they drive it, they park it in excellent places. They don't park them in places that they're susceptible to be stolen or susceptible to be damaged or backed into.
And they're not under-
careful with them.
they're not
More so
under-
than they are their typical 2010 Lexus or 2012 Lexus that
Right.
they're driving. They park it anywhere they want to.
And they're not typically put 50,000 miles a year out there
That's
on the
exactly
roads.
right.
So very little driving.
A driver car might be drove 5,000 or 10,000 miles
Right.
a year. It's rare that one would be driven 20 or 30. Some are, but it's not your.
Yeah, usually not at this level. You can have a nice cruising car and put that kind of miles on it, but you ain't, 20,000 miles on our highways and road systems isn't gonna wear well on anything.
That's true.
Well, cool. I'm excited to see how much longer you think it's gonna take to get it back together.
We're probably planning on having it, the wheels and tires. I just talked to Steve a little while ago on the phone. The wheels just came out of the plating shop today, and they're getting them cleaned up tomorrow and tires mounted, and they're going to have them delivered up here to me next week. It'll go in the paint booth for sanding and buffing and getting it all buffed and sanded before we start putting the trim on it, put the front sheet metal. I'm thinking it'll go over to Steve after the first of the year, probably.
Oh, okay.
In January or something like that.
So we're gonna be ready for the show season for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He'll have it out before the street rod season.
Right.
I don't see any reason that it wouldn't be.
Cool. Well, brother, as always, I appreciate you letting me come out. This is an interesting car with an interesting story, so that's why. And we cleared it too, you know, because Larry asked me, he said, "Do you want to shoot that?" So I'd love to shoot it. I said, "But unless we can say that the car was flooded in Nashville, I don't want to, you know, I don't necessarily want to do that because." One, we would have had to come up with some reason why it was here and something would have been done, it was being done to it like this, and it wouldn't have been the truth.
That's correct.
And my reputation is that I want my viewers always to know that I'm telling them what I believe to be the truth is, so.
And I agree totally.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, do these things where the customer would have any question about what we're doing. So
Right.
I did contact Steve 30 minutes ago and ask him what his feelings were on this, and he said his feelings were that he had no problem. If he ever sold the vehicle, he wouldn't dare sell it to anybody and not tell them the history of the car. Plus, with this video showing all that we've done and cleaned and all the things, they can see it in progress.
That's right.
There's nothing to be hid. He has no intentions of hiding anything, so this only tells a person if somewhere down the road they want to buy it. Yeah, there was some water damage that got up in it. Hey, we replaced everything, carpets, interior, window regulators, entire speedometer cluster, all the gauge system was changed, all of the wiring, the air conditioning system, the outside compressors, all the air ride compressors, wheel bearings, grease seals, rear end bearings.
If it needed it, it got it. If it possibly needed it.
It looked like there was
Yeah.
anything that could have been, we even replaced the bushings and stuff in the rear springs because we thought the water possibly, they had some age on them and the water probably deteriorated those, so we changed out the front and rear bushings and the springs, and the leaf springs on the rear.
Right. Yeah, and you know, I mean, you know, the nice thing
Put
too
new
is,
brake lines, new fuel lines, new air lines. We also changed all the air lines running front to rear to all the bags. We changed all
Right.
of that, but new, so.
because you know our culture, right? I mean, 5 years
Complete
from
rebuild.
5 years from now, he goes to sell this, and you're gonna have somebody whispering, "Oh, that wasn't part of that collection that got flooded, was it?" Yeah, I'm saying, and now, I mean, it's above board, and that's the reason, folks. This car's been here for what? This car's probably been here for a month or so.
It's actually been here for quite some time. We disassembled it and sent all the plating to him, and he plated it when he wasn't busy with other customers
Right.
plating. So we actually took the plating and chrome off this car months ago, and we actually just set it over and put it in storage until he got a chance to do all his plating, and we got a chance to get all the parts in for it, and then we went back to work on it. Actually went to work on it pretty hard just a couple months ago.
Right. And so anyways, like I said, I knew it was going to be a touchy. I felt that it might be a little touchy, telling the whole world that the man's car had been in a flood. But it was such an interesting story because, like I said, I think a lot of times when you see these floods and these natural disasters that happen, we think of what the news shows us. And they show late model cars in parking lots. And you think, oh, that's too bad. You know, that guy's Cadillac got flooded. But, man, think of how sick you'd be if you went to your warehouse and every one of your street rods was sitting under 2 foot of water.
Yeah.
Huh? That's just got to be a bad day in anybody's book.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
and you know it can be fixed.
The thing is, when you fix all of it and you go ahead and you improve on the fix.
Right.
Such as, and I'll show you, because I have a reason for saying this. When this
Right.
car was done, it had a battery. When this car was flooded, it had a battery sitting here. It had holes and various things in the firewall with grommets coming through it with cables and wiring. We've cleaned and neatened all of that up, painted out the booster to match the firewall, repainted all the firewall. If you'll come over here, I'll show you. Originally, those hoses came out through the firewall here and
Okay.
came running up through here all over the fender aprons and up here and all over the motor to get to the air conditioning, like they
Right.
do on a lot of cars. We ran all of it on the outside of that fender cavity and down the inside of the fender, and then we put a nice advanced plated chromed
Right. Fittings on it.
fittings on here
Yeah.
and run just the hoses, just as minimal amount of hoses under the hood as we could get. And we put the heater control valve, and we put, if you'll come right here, you can get a good shot of it. We hid the heater control valve, which is on the top there, opens and closes your heat,
Right.
turn on and off your heat. And we also put the bottle dryer for the air conditioning system hid between the fender apron and the firewall. Now, we made an aluminum panel that we painted yellow to match this, and it goes on with Velcro to access that.
Right.
When that goes on there, everything hides away.
Right.
And it's hid under the fenders,
Right.
out of sight, to clean it up under the hood as much as, we
Make them
could.
feel a little bit better
We
about what's
also made
happening.
an aluminum panel, or a steel panel actually, that covers the top of this radiator. Actually, I'll show that to you, it's sitting up here. Made that here in the shop, we do that for a lot of them.
He might have put it under the car because he cleaned the car out for us.
This is the aluminum panel actually that covers this to show you how this is gonna actually take place. If you come right over here, you'll see what I'm gonna do here. When this goes on, it'll be Velcro, and that will set in here like so. And I'm not gonna put it all the way in place
Right.
because it won't. It's tight to go in.
Right.
When it goes in there, it just blanks all of it off.
That's right. No, that's a nice
Hides all that
touch.
area.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
And then we, like I say, we made that pan, and I'm not sure where it's sitting right now. It's probably on a shelf around here somewhere, but there is a pan vent that comes over and covers the whole top of this radiator, covers all this. It's painted yellow.
So
And
when
then
you
your
open the
neck
hood, you
goes
don't see.
right through. It has a
Yeah.
hole recessed in it, and the cap goes on it, and it covers the whole top of this radiator rather than leaving it bare.
Right. Now, there's no chance you know what the name of that color is it?
Have no clue what
Yeah.
color it is.
Do you know who originally built the car for him?
I don't know the person's name. I think it was done out in Washington State.
Oh, okay.
And actually, he bought the car.
Done.
It was done.
Okay.
And you know, it was a driver, and he saw it and liked it, and bought the car from the fella. And basically, that was about 10 years ago. Really hadn't changed. They drove it, and they drove it a lot.
Right.
And that's the whole period now. You know, like when we did all this, we repainted all the frames satin black. You know, in other words, kept it clean. We even changed the control arms, put new control arm bushings, new shocks, airbagging system on it, ball joints, tie rod ends. We replaced everything on the front end. We put strong arms, the Rod Tech strong arms on it instead of the standard 55 Chevrolet control arms that was on it. So we made vast improvements to the car.
Right. So he'll be happy to get it back.
Oh yeah, he's tickled with where it is, and it'll be a vast improvement in the overall car.
Right.
So, something good has come out of something
That's
bad.
right. Right. But very cool, man. Well, Larry, as always, you know how much I appreciate you telling me about this stuff.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Very cool. Very cool car with a kind of a sad story with a happy ending. So, anyways, Griffey's Hot Rod Shop. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Have a good day. See ya.